Forward. All right, my friends. So, what is the thing that I'm going to share with you today? All right, I thought I've actually, interestingly enough, I have had some questions recently about people wanting to take their quilts to the finish line. And what I mean by that is that they would be able to finish their quilts on their domestic machine. Well, the the thing about finishing out your domestic machine, it absolutely most certainly can be done, right? But one of the challenges that happens with the domestic machine is that you are so limited on space, with your throat space, right? And so Handi Quilter has this wonderful sit down machine. Well, I shouldn't even call it a sit down because you could stand up to it, but it's more of maybe what I should call a better term would be a stationary machine. And it's called the Capri, the HEQ Capri. And we actually had a customer of ours from Texas purchase one just this last week because she realized she wanted to be able to do quilts on her own to finish them. She didn't want to have to take her quilts to a long armor anymore, and the space is perfect. So it's a very small, right? And it's not on a large machine. So oftentimes when we think of a long arm, you think, oh my gosh, I have to have an entire room dedicated to a long arm. But you don't have to with the Handi Quilter Capri. And I'll show you why here in just a minute. And the nice thing is it has a built-in stitch regulator. So it's so perfect. So I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about that today and kind of introduce to you, or maybe reintroduce to you, the Handi Quilter Capri. So I will show this to you right here. It is this size right there. That's as big as it gets. So it's not only half the size, not even, geez, it's maybe a quarter of the size of a long arm, but it's also, you've got half the price. The price is extremely affordable. And so to be able to take something from start to finish on your own is pretty amazing. The other thing about this machine is that we can ship it anywhere in the continental US. So if you are looking for the ability to be able to have a machine in your home that is not a long, well, we sell long arms too, and we can ship them anywhere. But the machine I wanted to focus on today is the Handi Quilter Capri. Again, it's about 3 feet wide is the space that I'm on. It's very, very doable because you can sit down. You can see I'm actually sitting on a chair, so it's quite relaxing. Or it's adjustable, it can actually move up in height too. Plus, the nice thing is, it even looks like a long arm, right? You could put this on, just having this here is just pretty amazing. But this is your stationary long arm, and you can see that you have 18 inches of throat space. 18 inches. Huge. Do you know that you could actually do up to a king size quilt on this machine? Up to a king size quilt on this machine. It can be done. So I thought I would just do a few little stitches here to show you what I'm talking about, and then I'm going to show you a little video. So these are called sweet spots. Even if you don't have this machine in particular, if you want to like do more free motion quilting on your own domestic sewing machine, these sweet spots are awesome. Okay, they're pretty awesome because they have a grippy pad on the bottom, so it really helps you to navigate your fabric as you're stitching. And this is scary that I'm doing this right in front of you with white thread and a black fabric. That means everything's going to show up. Okay, now if I had it in manual, but I could also have it where it's regulated. All I have to do is press the play button right up here. There's a, whoa, yeah, I took my hands off of it and I started moving it. Put the play button on I like to say play, but it means to go. And now I like to keep my stitches about 10 stitches per inch. It's just, to me, I just like the look of that, but you can change it if you want to. And I'm going to move my hands again. You want to be close to your needle instead of further out. Okay. All right. So that's basically, you do have to turn it off too. Okay. There we go. All right. So that's kind of, in a real nutshell, of what I'm talking about today, is the idea that you can sit down, you have 18 inches of throat space, you have a built-in stitch regulator, which basically means, if you take a look right down here, this is called the insight table. This is like a free motion detector, and this is calculating how fast the quilt is moving so that it can slow down or speed up the machine so that all your stitches are beautiful, perfect, stitch regulated. So those sensors that are built into the table are right there. The other nice thing is that you can, it's easy to get into the bobbin area. And you can actually use canned air in this bobbin area because it is enclosed, so you don't have to worry about it shooting other places. This table is so nice because it's so smooth. They actually put a different surface on it than they have before, than they ever have before, and it just makes those fabrics just glide along so nicely. Let me think, what else can I tell you about this? It is quilting up to 2,200 stitches per minute. And like I said, you've got the 18-inch throat space. You have the table that comes with it, which is 36 inches across. But you could also add on the extension tables to it and have an additional 18 inches on one side and an additional 18 inches on the other side. So if you're doing bigger quilts, it's so nice because now you have it all right there. Really, one of the things that's important if you're quilting on your own domestic sewing machine is not having the quilt drag off to the side. So having the extension tables, which adds another 36 inches when you compare both sides, is really, really nice. This machine is just awesome. I cannot say enough good things about it, because if you're like, I really want to finish my quilts, but I don't feel like I can afford a full-on long arm. I mean, we've got, you can see we've got long arms right there, and we sell those and can ship anywhere in the continental US as well. But this is that great go-between machine. Some people absolutely love to be able to stitch on a domestic machine, and this is like a domestic machine but on steroids, because you're going to have the 18 inches of throat space to the back, plus have the built-in stitch regulation, which is incredible. So what I'm going to do right now, let's see, let me hurry and answer any questions. Kathy says that she loves her sit-down Handi Quilter. Yay! I'm so glad to hear that. And those of you who do purchase the Handi Quilter machine from us, even if you live outside of Utah, we will provide you classes. You're part of all of our online classes, so that's never a problem. All right, Sue asked, where does it fall in lineup of sit-down quilting machines? Well, it is the only stitch or sit-down quilting machine that Handi Quilter makes. They used to have one years ago. It was, and some of you might be familiar with this, it was called the Sweet 16. And this, just this last year, got replaced it because it has the built-in stitch regulator. The Sweet 16, for those of you who might remember, did not have a built-in stitch regulator. The stitch regulation was off to the side, and you had to maneuver it and manipulate it. It was a pain. I hated it. I actually hated it. And so being able to have the built-in stitch regulator, I think, is a game changer for sure. Let's see. Can you add a computer to Quilt? Not to this machine, Nancy. Now you can on the other machines that we have, but on the stationary machine you cannot. Carol asked, is it hard to set up if it's shipped to you? Actually, it's very, very simple. And because the whole machine itself comes as one big head, and then you've got the table, which comes in a couple parts, it's so easy to put together. You'll be shocked. You know, Handi Quilter actually has videos out there on how to do it as well, or we would even be happy to, you know, get on FaceTime with you and walk you through on how to do that. All right. Okay, let me go ahead and pull up a video for you. This is of, all right, let me pull this up. Okay, this is a little bit more about stitch regulation and what that means. It's a 5-minute video, but I'm actually going to show you just about 3 minutes of it. So watch carefully and let me know what you think.
Now let's talk about stitch regulation. That is the greatest thing with the Capri. We have the inside stitch regulation. So we have these sensors on either side of the needle, and they sense the movement of the fabric. So when I press my fabric or move my fabric over, I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread. I've got it set on the regulation, and at this point I'm going to leave it in precision. So that means when my needle is, when I press the foot pedal, the needle's not going to move until I move my fabric. So you can see how that works. So I pressed the foot pedal and it went down, but it's not moving or stitching until I move the fabric. When I stop moving the fabric, the needle stops somewhere in that revolution of that needle going up and down. Not necessarily down or not necessarily up, just wherever I stop. Then when I start stitching, see, it stopped in a different place. My foot pedal is still down, but I stopped moving the fabric. So why would I use precision? Precision is great for when you're using rulers and you're adjusting the position of the ruler. Okay, now I'm going to change it over to cruise. So in the cruise mode, I'm going to set my cruise at about 100 stitches per minute and my stitch length to 13. So my stitch length was the same as it is here. Now you're going to notice when I press the foot pedal, the needle is going to start going up and down in a cruise speed. So I'm not moving the fabric, but when I start moving the fabric, it gives me that 13 stitches per inch. Why would I use cruise? Do you see how it finishes those points? When I get to that point, it takes a couple of stitches there and I can bounce off. The other thing is I love it when I'm stitching over the top of something. Say if I'm doing feathers and I'm stitching over the top of the feather, it is great because it just allows the needle to keep moving so that I can keep accuracy as I'm stitching. So I stitch over that. Keeps my stitches at the accurate stitch length. And I can just stitch any place I want with this. It's just so much fun. Now, Let's talk about, what about the edge of a quilt? If I get to the edge of a quilt, and I'm going to clip my threads here.
Okay. Let's see. Could you guys hear that okay? Um, so she goes on to talk about how to do the edge of a quilt. And basically what she says is that just like how you would normally have your backing fabric be a couple inches larger than the top when you're doing a long arming a quilt, you'd want the same for the sit down or the stationary machine as well, because the fabric sensors just need to pick up for stitch regulation. So that's kind of what she went into. But I figured I wanted to have you know a little bit, understand a little bit more about why you would use precision versus cruise mode. Now, somebody had asked earlier, I can't remember who it was, and I just saw it, that asked, can you use rulers on the stationary machine? And the answer is absolutely yes. A lot of people love to use the rulers on this, and if you were, you would actually be going into precision mode so that it stops at each point. It just doesn't keep stitching like it does in cruise mode. So, but rulers, Handi Quilter has so many rulers out there. We have them all on our website. And for those of you who might already own a Handi Quilter and are looking for rulers, we have the rulers on there. But it really is just such a fun way to be able to finish your quilts for a great price too. When you think about how much you spend on quilting and getting your items quilted yourself, you're looking at hundreds of dollars a month, right? To be able to do that. If you were to get into a Capri, you would be at less than $200 a month to be able to do that. So if you think about that times how many quilts you're doing, this could be a really great way to go. Now, that's if you were to do financing. Now, if you don't do financing, what we can do is offer show price. Show price is actually a really great way to go because you get a great discount from the beginning. And a show price would even be if you were to use your own personal credit card, you could do it that way as well. So you could apply for financing, but there's a little bit more of an upfront fee for it, but it does make it 0% interest for 48 months. Or you could just have the show price, which is less and right from the beginning, and then you can use your sky miles, right? For when we start flying again, or whatever it is you do. Or of course you can pay cash. So I wanted to be able to share with you what the pricing is right now. The MSRP on it is $89.95. Okay, $8,995. Our regular price, if you were to apply for financing, would be at $79.95. But if you do show price and do your own financing, meaning you're going to put it on your credit card or you're going to pay cash, or that's going to be $64.95. So you're going to save another $1,500 off the top. $64.95. So it's very affordable for those of you who want to finish those quilts and be able to say you did it on your own, which is kind of exciting, right? Again, you're looking at a very small footprint in your sewing space, a very small footprint. This could fit into the corner of a room. When it's not in use, you could probably put it into a closet. You can, just have it out. Think how nice it would be to actually finish a project and then go straight to your machine and just actually finish it all the way. Wouldn't that be amazing? So, and the fact that it has built-in stitch regulation is awesome.